Next, I'm happy to introduce Peter Yarrow. Peter, along with Paul and Mary, taught us so many beautiful songs of conscience during the war. Since then, he has organized and sung at countless political events all over the world, whether Selma, the March on Washington, opposing the Vietnam War, supporting the needs and rights of the people of South Africa, the Philippines, Central America, or the Palestinian territories. Peter has been there singing for freedom, justice, and peace. Peter is joined by his daughter, Bethany Yarrow, and her musical partner, Rufus Cappadocia, better known as Bethany and Rufus. Welcome them, please.
One of the moments that's most important to me as I speak to you is to remember a gathering at the National Cathedral when it was time to stop addressing body counts and individualize the horror that was being experienced in individual people's lives. And Pete Seeger was there, and there was singing and there was praying. And we prayed to the north and the south and the east to the west because it was needed to let the impact of what we were doing reach into our hearts and not paint this horror that was occurring before us in some kind of statistical way. I sang the song that I'm going to sing to you now, and then right after that, taps were blown. And in the middle of taps, there was the sound of a woman weeping. Not weeping, she was filled with pain, and it wailing. And that counterpoint of the taps and that sound was unforgettable. At the end, when we left, she was brought to me, and she said, I want you to know that my son was in Vietnam, and he said, Mom, if I am to die, I want the words to the great Mandela engraved on my tombstone. And she said, I want you to know that we did that. This is the song that I sang then, and it's very hard to sing it now, because it does bring us back, not to the great sweep of that, but to the individual reality that I would live each night after concerts for years and years and years, when people, young men, not very many women then who were going to war, would come up and say, should I go to jail? Should I go to Canada? How am I going to deal with this? I am not going to be a part of this. And this is the song. So I told him that he'd better shut his mouth and do his job like a man. And he answered, listen, Father, I will never kill another. He thinks he's better than his brother that died. What the hell does he think he's doing to his father who brought him up right? Take your place on the great Mandela as it moves through your brief moment of time. win or lose now. You must choose now. And if you lose, you're only losing your life. Tell the jailer not to bother with his meal of bread and water today. He is fasting till the killing's over. He's a martyr. He thinks he's a prophet, but he's a coward. He's just playing a game. He can't do it. He can't change it. It's been going on for 10,000 years. Take your place on the great Mandela as it moves through your brief moment of time. Win or lose now, you must choose now. And if you lose, you're only losing your life. What's the rumbling in the courtyard? 7,000 faces are turned to the gate. What's that they're saying? Kill the traitor. Kill the traitor. Kill the traitor. Kill the traitor. La 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 la. Kill that traitor. Kill the traitor. Kill him. Take your place on the great Mandela as it moves through your brief moment of time. Win or lose now, my friends. You must choose now. And if you lose, you're only losing your life. Tell those people they are safe now. Hunger stopped him. He lies still in his cell. Death has gagged his accusations. We are free now. We can kill now. We can hate now. Now we can end the world. We're not guilty. He was crazy. It's been going on for 10,000 years. Take your place on the great Mandela as it moves through your brief moment of time. Win or lose now, you must choose now. And if you lose, you're only losing your life. And if you lose, you're only losing your life. And if you lose, you've only wasted your life. You are all my brothers and sisters. You are all my heroes. It's wonderful to see you. It's also very painful. Because what we are facing now is the legacy of work yet undone. And because what we experience together, when we enter the realm of really living it once more, is frightening in the extreme. And yet, unless we do what we have to do, it will recapitulate itself again and again and again, not just in Iraq, again and again and again. For the future, we are here, not just to love each other, which is the base upon which we create what it is that epitomizes what really made this possible, this stopping of a war. I want to dedicate this past song to somebody who is not here. And he wouldn't be here, I know. Although he hasn't told me directly because it's not appropriate for him to say so. He was there. We became great friends when he was head of the Vietnam Veterans and Against the War. He's now Secretary of State. This is what he said to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee when it was headed by Fulbright, which he later led. Who speaks with this kind of courage now? Who will speak? Who could speak in the face of a nation at war after the 9/11? We were never a nation at war after 9/11 until we invaded Iraq, but based upon that, we were turned into a militarized nation by George W. Bush, and frightened into kind of fear that still invades our souls, where we don't speak out like this. Listen to these words. This is at the Winter Soldier gathering. This is what he said to the Foreign Relations Committee about that, when they spoke about what they'd done. They told stories that at times they had personally raped, cut off ears, cut off heads, taped wires from portable telephones to human genitals, and turned up the power, cut off limbs, blown up bodies, randomly shot at civilians, razed villages in fashion reminiscent of Genghis Khan, shot cattle and dogs for fun, poisoned food stocks, and generally ravaged the countryside of South Vietnam, in addition to the normal ravage of war and the normal and very particular ravaging which is done by the applied bombing power of this country. We watched as the United States' falsification of body counts, in fact, the glorification of body counts. We listened while month after month we were told the back of the enemy was about to break. We watched while men charged up hills because the general said that hill had to be taken. And after losing one platform, one platoon or two platoons, they marched away to leave the hill for reoccupation by the North Vietnamese. We watched pride allow the most important battles to be blown into extravaganzas because we could not lose. And we couldn't retreat because it didn't matter how many American bodies were lost to prove that point. We are asking Americans to think of that because how do you ask a man, and today a woman, to be the last man or woman to die in Vietnam? How do you ask a man to be the last man or woman to die for a mistake? We are here in Washington to say that the problem of war is not just a question of war and diplomacy. It is part and parcel of everything that we are trying as human beings to communicate to people in this country. The question of racism, which is rampant in the military, and so many other questions, such as the use of weapons, the hypocrisy of taking umbrage at the Geneva Conventions and using that as a justification for a continuation of this war when we are more guilty than any other body of violations of those Geneva Conventions. That is what we are trying to say. It is part and parcel of everything. Those were John Kerry's words. In the position that he is, and he's not allowed to come here because whatever he says would be taken as a representation of the administration's position. So he is. But I'm telling you, he is here with us. I can't tell you he said it to me, but I know in his heart he is. So we are here to make sure somehow not just that we love each other and acknowledge each other and honor each other, but with a sense of the extraordinary importance of this, from the young to the most aged, to say our work must allow the whitewashing of this experience not to grow into the future reality of how people watch that period. Not so that we can walk around with guns in our hands. What does never forget mean in this case? It means either we love each other, honor each other, and walk with justice, or we will go back into that hole once more. And how do we make that happen? We make sure that these young people who are growing up do understand the heart of this matter. And that's our job. And while the Pentagon goes there, it's great. Honor the veterans. Yes, it was a terrible thing that they were excoriated and spat upon. They put their lives on the line for us. Well, that's my feeling, and we can discuss it a later time if you disagree. But what is true to me is that notwithstanding that, we must not allow this history to be turned into a lie that perpetuates and escalates and initiates more war. So, from the young to the old, I honor us now bringing up the young. My daughter, Bethany Yarrow, who grew up marching. That's all she does, is organize. She's one of you. And Rufus Cappadocia, too, her beloved partner in music and life. Please welcome them. And now, let me dedicate this to the young people, but also to the senior members. Now, I'm a chicken, you know, a youngster compared to this gentleman who represented the American Friends Service Committee at the Paris Peace Talks and was a great champion. You are all my heroes, Cora, all of you guys. But I want to point to Landrum Bowling, who's 101 years old and never stopped. You can stand up, Landrum.
There he is.
I can't remember one demonstration, civil rights movement or the anti-war movement, when this song was not sung, and yet it is sung today. How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail?
How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in a sail?
How many times must the cannonballs fly? How How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever burned? Sing it to us. It's blowing in the wind. Yes. Yes. Yes, and how many years must a mountain exist before it is washed? For it is washed to the... How many years can some people exist?
How many years can some people exist
Before they're allowed to be free?
before they're allowed to be free?
Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? To us. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? How many ears must one man have?
And how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry?
How many deaths will it take?
How many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. Oh, the answer is blowing in the wind.
Rufus. Just hum with us while Rufus plays. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And now sing the answer, my friend. The answer, it's within us.
Is blowing
It's all around us. The answer is blowing in the wind. Rufus, get up.